On September 29th, Austria goes to the polls, and they have a chance to elect either the nice social democratic leader Andi Babler of the SPÖ, or the guy who told people to take horse medicine to fight COVID. For some unknown reason, since Herbert Kickl has become the leader of the Freedom Party of Austria, their poll numbers continue to catapult up into the stratosphere, and they have been floating near 30% for the better part of a year. Herbert can best be described as, what if all of our weird uncles were the leader of a far-right party? There's a lot of weird Herbert stories, including the time he posted a very real letter from a child that described how young children like her really wanted Herbert to become the quote-unquote Volkskanzler. The election has become, quote, the duel is the SPÖ versus Herbert Kickl. We accept the duel. It's about preventing an authoritarian turnaround and protecting this country and the republic. And as to be expected of a normal politician, Andi Babler is presenting a very expansive program, over 100 pages on real fundamental things that can improve the day-to-day lives of people in the Republic, like rolling out the 4-day work week, a removal of non-compete clauses, and improving unemployment benefit. Free lunches from 6 to 15, basic child protection, free climate tickets protecting mobility for young people, and free media subscriptions from 16 to 30 years old. Doubling the number of medical study places, an abolition of the access restriction and fees at universities, and an introduction of an investment fund for restaurants and local suppliers, and 20 billion euros of climate transformation fund, something that is vitally needed in Austria, a country deeply dependent on oil and gas. And vitally important, removing abortion from the penal code, which it still remains in Austria. Not only that, introducing the federal public prosecutor's office to fight against the vast amount of corruption as we've seen in both of the OVP governments and many of the governments preceding that. Not only that, but also pensions without deductions after 45 years of work. And what's the FPÖ offering? Well, for women's issues, foreigners out. For housing, foreigners out. For health, foreigners out. For workers' rights, foreigners out. And for climate, foreigners out. And while that might sound good to weird little guys, I don't think I need to explain to you that just getting rid of foreigners isn't a magical solution to all of your societal issues. The debate also had this beautiful moment where Andi Babler, decided to pull out a list that is almost 2 meters tall of all of the FPÖ politicians that have been convicted of crimes while in office in just the last couple of years. And what's on the list? Well, I've gotcha. Grievous bodily harm, bribery, abuse of office, money laundering, incitement to hatred, dangerous threats, breach of trust, Yahtzee-related activities, forgery of documents, and disparagement of religious teachings, coercion, false testimony, National Socialist reactivation, defamation, sexual abuse of minors, incitement to violence against religious communities, serious fraud, slot machine fraud, insulting the federal president, false testimony, serious commercial fraud, employment of an undeclared worker, illegal arms trade, acceptance of party donations in return for citizenship, incitement to physical violence against politicians, aiding and abetting tax evasion, Holocaust denial, paternity test fraud, fraudulent bankruptcy, defamation, endangering people with communicable diseases, breach of official secrecy, bribery, and acceptance of benefits. Oh, and just to put a little icing on top, see, Austria just went through some of the worst flooding that has ever occurred in the country's history and the entire region. And the FPÖ MEP Harold Wilimski, guess what he's doing in the middle of the flooding? Raising money with Nigel Farage in Chicago at a climate change denial think tank. For me, the choice is really clear in a few days. Obviously, Andi Babler of the SPÖ would be a significantly better leader who is much more in touch with, well, material reality than most people in the Freedom Party of Austria. Now, before we conclude, please like, share, repost, do all the things, because we're about to answer the most important question that's still remaining. Why does Herbert Kickl keep wanting to be called the Volkskanzler?
Das kommt mir woanders her bekannt vor. Wer hat sich nochmal so genannt? Volkskanzler, ich komme nicht drauf. Volkskanzler, der Volkskanzler. Huch! Volkskanzler Adolf Hitler, ja.